Alright, so antibodies and antigens. If you are an antigen, or if you are an antibody, the antibody, or the antigen, is like the Romeo to your Juliet. You're destined for destruction, the both of you, but you can't seem to keep yourselves away because you are each other's true love. So where do you find an antigen? You find an antigen on a bad thing. So bacteria have antigens, viruses have antigens, cancer cells have antigens. Anything bad has an antigen on it. And in fact, sometimes good things can have antigens on it too. But basically, an antigen is anything that stimulates your body, your immune system, to make antibodies against it. And keep in mind that before we were talking about things like macrophages that just eat bad things, antibodies are part of that adaptive immune system, and so they're part of a very specific type of immunity. And again, if you are vaccinated against tuberculosis, you form antibodies hopefully against tuberculosis, but that won't help you if you're infected with, let's say, some other disease, HIV or hepatitis, right? So antigens are found on the bad thing. Antibodies are the things that your body forms against them. So, blood typing. Remember I just said that sometimes antigens can be on a good thing too. Well, it has to do with the fact that your body doesn't distinguish things as bad or good in a pure sense. It doesn't say, okay, you look, like you're bad and you look like you're good. It distinguishes things as self versus non-self. So it says, okay, you belong here, you're part of me, or oh no, you don't belong here, so you must be bad, I'm going to get rid of you. And that's why if you, go to get a blood transfusion and you're a type A, they can't infuse you with blood type B, or vice versa. And I'm going to explain why that is. So on the outside of each cell, there's two types of things. We're going to start with the Rh factor because that one's a little bit easier. But if you ask somebody their blood type, they tell you something like B positive, right? Or O negative. There's a letter, and then there's a plus or a minus. The plus or the minus has to do with something called an Rh factor, which is a cell marker, so it's something that exists on the outside of cells, and you either have it or you don't. If you have it, you're Rh positive. If you don't have it, you're Rh negative. As far as the letters, those are a little bit more complicated. So if you are a blood type A person, that means on the outside of your cells you have an antigen for blood type A. It's an antigen because if you put it into a blood type B person, they're going to attack it, right? You're not going to make antibodies against it because you don't look at that antigen and recognize it as being bad or not part of you because it is part of you. But somebody who doesn't have that blood type would do that. So it's an antigen, not an antibody. The other possibility is that you have a type B antigen on your cells. And that would make you type B. But there's a couple more possibilities too, right? What if you have both? What if you have type A antigens and type B antigens on each of your cells? That would make you type AB, right? And what does O mean? Is there such a thing as an O antigen? No, there absolutely is not. What makes you type O is if you do not have either one, type A or type B antigen, you have nothing on your surface. So this is why, this is why they say that type O is the universal donor and type AB is the universal acceptor. So let's take type O first of all. That means that you do not have any antigens on your surface. So you're the universal donor because no matter who we give your blood to, they're not going to react to it. Why? Because there's nothing to react to. There are no antigens on your cell surfaces for them to react to. Group AB, however, is the reverse of that. So it has all kinds of things on its cell surface. So it's the universal acceptor because no matter what you give to it, it's not going to recognize it as being bad or non-self because it's already seen type A, it's already seen type B, it's already seen type AB. So that's why that one is the universal acceptor. Why is this so important? Well, we just talked about transfusion reactions, right? A transfusion reaction is what's going to happen if you give somebody type B blood that has type A blood. They're going to make antibodies against the B antigen because they've never seen it before and they identify it as being non-self or bad. The erythroblastosis fetalis is a very sad condition or hemolytic disease of the newborn, but that has more to do with the Rh factor as opposed to the letters. The transfusion reaction is usually the letter part. So the erythroblastosis fetalis is what happens when an Rh negative mom has an Rh positive baby. Because what happens? Well, the mom sees this Rh thing, and her cells don't have it, right? So she recognizes this as being non-self or bad, and usually it's not a problem for the first baby, it's a problem for the second baby. Because what happens is that she sees this in the first baby, and she makes antibodies to it, but by the time the antibodies are ready to attack, the baby's born and it's safe. But the next time, this is a common cause of miscarriage, because the next time that her body sees something growing like a fetus that has those positive Rh factors on it, her body's going to immediately destroy it with the antibodies that she's been making. Hemostasis. Hemo means blood, stasis means stay the same. So hemostasis is the process by which we clot. It's the process by which we prevent ourselves from bleeding to death from a paper cut. So it's the cessation, which is stopping, of blood flow, and it has a couple of different parts to it. Each one of these has a lot more parts, which you'll probably talk all about in lecture, but for our purposes, we're just going to look at the three major parts to this. So the first part is called a vascular spasm, which causes vasoconstriction. So to constrict means to make smaller, so imagine like thinning the blood vessels. And why would you do that? Well, imagine that you have a hole, right? You have a cut and it's deep and it nicked the vein or the artery or the arterial or the capillary. You nicked some kind of blood vessel, right? And it's bleeding. So the first thing you want to do is close the hole, right? You want to make it smaller so that less blood is going to come out of the hole. So you make it smaller by vasoconstriction. The next thing is the platelet plug formation. So the inside of your blood vessels, which is called the endothelium, is coated with this stuff called prostacyclin. And that's really sticky stuff. And what it does is when the platelets, which we already learned are those little cell pieces that help in clotting, when they come by, they're going to stick first to the wall and then to each other. And they're going to make a plug. And so the first step is to make the hole smaller. The second step is to make a little plug. But what's the problem with the plug? Is that it doesn't last very long, right? So you need a full-on clot that's going to last longer to do a better job of really plugging up that hole. And that's the process of coagulation. And it forms, like I said, a clot, which the official name of that is called a thrombus. And fibrinogen is a protein that plays a big role in that formation of your thrombus. So that's it. Hopefully that helped with your studying. Good luck, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Thanks, bye.